Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Figma Overwatch Reaper figure, which is one that many people were very excited about, despite the fact that Figma has been pretty hit or miss with their Overwatch line. This one looked really good. I mean, it is Reaper, so it's got a really cool design anyway, but it looks like they might have actually gotten their stride with this figure based on the images we saw. And did they do it? Well, kinda not. So there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff. It's pretty much your standard Figma release. They don't seem to often get a perfectly good figure. This one's probably better than most, but it definitely lacks in a few areas. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 6 1/4 inches, which makes him just about 16 centimeters, just shy of that. And it looks pretty good. I mean, they nailed the overall look. Sure, his head maybe is a little bit small in there. It's slightly more stylized than even it is in Overwatch, but ultimately it looks okay. It's got a really nice matte finish for most of his jacket, and then some of the armor pads are kind of like a glossier color. Not quite glossy, but more like a semi-gloss or satin. And then we have the metallics down here. Very nicely done. I think that it brings a lot to a figure when you can vary the finishes across. And then you have more of the flat for like the skin tone. Very nice looking. Lots of nice little details throughout. Good color separation where the paints are for like the blue to the gray. Overall, very, very nice looking figure. I'm very pleased with that. So aesthetically, this guy gets a 9 out of 10. It looks really, really good. The only real downside to the aesthetics, the ugly elbow joints, I'll let that slide. I'll let it slide just because they did it for functionality's sake, and I think that's okay. Now, as far as accessories go, he's got some, not a lot, but he's got some. We have 2 fist hands, 2 gripping hands, 2 gun hands, 2 open claw hands, and then 1 thumbs up hand, which I think is a decent batch of hands. We do, of course, have his 2 guns. And then we have 2 blast effects for his guns, which I really love. The red and orange translucent plastic with the shaded, almost black ends. Very cool looking. Love that. We do have a little swirly, clear plastic swirly that goes on the floor, or on the, well, floor for him, shelf or table for us. Nicely done. And we have a Figma display stand. Not the most accessories in the world, but I think it's definitely enough. And so I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Nice batch of accessories, and the little blast effects look awesome. So that's a good rating. Now it's time for the articulation. And here's one of the problems I have with this figure. They decided to make the hood removable, but also peg in. So you can't pose the hood at all. Instead of letting it just swivel with the head, like you can see, that would have been fine. If it rotated, if the head rotated with it, that would have been okay. It wouldn't be perfect, but it'd be fine. They made it peg in, so you cannot pose the head in the hood other than by rotating the head just a tiny little bit. And because of the way it's sculpted, the hood only fits over the head if the head's in a certain position. So it limits the posability of the head completely. And it makes it aesthetically less pleasing because the hood's blocking his sight when you try to pose him. Now, I know a hood wouldn't move as much as I'm suggesting if it was connected to the head as opposed to the torso, but that's better than not letting it work properly. So that's a definite bummer. We're going to set that aside though so I can show you the head articulation, which sucks. We have a hinge in here. I mean, it's technically got more than just a hinge, but it leans forward and back, which is goofy because that's not the right shape for the human neck or head, and it's just really, really weird. Like, it totally destroys the figure aesthetically. And then we have another ball hinge or Figma hinge, whatever you want to call it, up at the top, which does allow it to hinge even more, but the rotation doesn't really work. So you can't really pose the head very much. You get like, I don't know, 60 degrees. It's weird. Like, why did they do that? Just put a regular neck in there and let the hood rotate with the head and everything would be fine. But the way they did it, you can basically only pose him looking forward and have it look okay. Very odd design choice there. Not pleased with that. For the shoulders, there's a lot of stuff going on here. At least it looks like there is, but there's really not. It's your standard double Figma hinge. So you get 1 hinge in there and then 1 hinge at the shoulder itself. It allows the arm to move around at the torso just fine. And then you have this cap of your shoulder piece right here. It gets to be kind of cumbersome with the 2 joints depending on how you have them arranged. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it'll be functional enough. But this cap right here is a soft piece, and then it connects down to this piece here, which is a separate piece. So they move independently of the arm, but they don't really. So again, it's kind of a strange choice. Figma just kind of throws stuff in there, and it looks okay, but it doesn't necessarily function well. I'm not sure why they did it this way, but they did. Functionally speaking though, you can raise the arms out to just about horizontal. You can rotate them around, but hopefully you don't get them stuck like it keeps happening to me. Having the double joint is just so not necessary, and they did it anyway. Just put a bigger peg in there. The double joint ends up making it really hard to pose. You do get a bicep swivel out of it though, and single jointed elbow, kind of. It's a single hinge right here, but then you also have a ball peg in the forearm, so it kind of functions like a double, but you get really good range out of it, so that's fine. I really don't like this shoulder setup just because it's such a hassle to pose. It's a really big problem, and it's not because they're poofy, it's because of what they did underneath. That's the problem. And then for the wrists, we have a ball hinge, which is pretty much standard at this point, so that's fine. It connects with a ball peg, but it doesn't have much room, so it's going to be basically a standard ball hinge, not a ball peg ball hinge combo, functionally. For the torso, I believe it's just a single ball peg. It could have a hinge in there. It's kind of hard to say. It feels almost like there's a hinge. Can we pull it apart? Let's just pull it apart. Yeah, we can. All right. Yep, there's a hinge. Okay, so there is a ball peg in there, which is kind of what I was feeling. So the ball peg does move around, but then you do have your hinge and straight peg on the other end of that. So that'll help for posability, and hopefully you don't have any problems with it falling apart since it's just a straight peg. There we go. So does it lean forward? Yeah. Does it lean back? Yeah, not a ton. Pretty good though. And side to side, it leans at kind of an angle, but it'll work. And then your rotation works too, so that's okay. That's fine. This part of the jacket doesn't really move. It's flexible, but it's fixed. This part of the jacket, each piece has a hinge. And so it'll rotate on the hinges and be hinged, so that's fine. And then there should be a ball peg where the hips connect. Yeah, there is. So there's an upside down three-way ball peg. So one that goes into the lower torso, and then one into each hip, and that lets the whole thing move around, and you can see the belt kind of just is floating on top of all of that. And so then you have your ball pegs. Now here's the worst part about this figure by far. The hips don't work very well at all. They don't have an extension. You can't bring them out to the side. You can't bring them forward. You get almost no range out of the hips, so you can't really pose him. He's just going to be standing there, which is fine if you just want him to stand there, but it is a highly articulated action figure, so not having hips that move is definitely a bummer. You have your swivel, and that's about it. For the knees, it's a standard single jointed Figma hinge with a moving knee pad, which is nice. I do like that a whole lot. And then for the ankles, again, it's a standard hinge. Doesn't go back very far at all. It goes forward a little bit, and you get a toe hinge, which is floppy. And you can't rotate them all that well. You can rotate them almost none because they're not balls. They're flat on the sides and they're keyed into the ankle, so you can't really rotate them. So you get a really terrible ankle rocker. So, like I said, they got half of it good and half of it bad. I don't understand why they do that. It's like they don't think about things as they make it. Let's make it look good and not worry about articulation. And that's not good because these are highly articulated figures. If I wanted it to be a statue, I would have purchased a statue. So, articulation on this guy, I'm gonna give it only a 5 out of 10. The shoulders are a pain in the ass. The elbows work okay, wrists are okay, hips suck, torso's okay, head sucks, knees are okay, ankles suck. So 5 out of 10. Articulation's not good on this guy overall. So, time for the final verdict on this guy. He looks really good, comes with cool accessories, isn't gonna pose worth a damn. And so that's a bummer for me. I don't think he's going to take the top spot for the Overwatch collection. I'm going to leave that with Widowmaker at this point. He's very disappointing in the fact that you can't pose him. It's just, if I wanted something that was going to just be in one basic pose, I'd have purchased a statue. So that's a bummer. So final verdict on this guy. Since it's an action figure that can't pose well, it's only going to be a 6 out of 10. Cool accessories and a cool aesthetic don't trump articulation when it's to this severe of a degree. So there it is, guys. I'm bummed out because the articulation is just so lousy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Does the articulation, when it's that bad, is that enough of a factor for you? Or is the aesthetics and accessories going to make up for it? Are the aesthetics and accessories going to make up for it? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps me out a whole bunch. And if you want to see more, I've got thousands of other videos on the channel. Almost all of them are reviews, so plenty of stuff for you to check out there. And if that's not enough, I've got new videos coming out just about every single day. Pretty much every day except for Wednesday, so make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.